Society of BC, and Jeff Kalbeck, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the United Way of Lower Mainland. So with that, I'll call Mayor Kotiev to make a few remarks, and after that we'll hear from a few remarks from some of our guests here today, and then we'll go to a Q&A, and then most of the delegation will remain behind after follow-up interviews. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Kotiev.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, and thanks to everyone for joining us. Back in April, the Mayor's Council launched our Cure Congestion campaign, and we're here today to really launch the next phase of this campaign. And this is the part of the campaign where we actually want to engage Metro Vancouver voters and residents, really to help us send a message to members of Parliament, party leaders, and candidates in the upcoming election. Our message is very clear and straightforward. We in this region, we need permanent, predictable funding for public transit so we can help cure congestion and keep Metro Vancouver moving. The fact is, our region has been experiencing tremendous growth, and that growth is expected to continue with anticipated 1 million new residents and potential commuters coming to our region over the next 20 years, so we need to continue to act. Our transit system is already facing challenges with overcrowding that is experienced by our transit users, even despite the fact that we've been making historic investments into transportation. Earlier today, Mayor Richard Stewart joined representatives from the provincial and federal government to confirm the commitments of $1.5 billion investments for the second phase of the mayor's 10-year plan. And really, it's been this investments from the federal and provincial governments that have been catalyst to see the successes and improvements that we have in our transit system. And I think we see even right now, whether we're talking about the Canada line or the Evergreen line, how these investments in transportation have really helped to transform and become such critical investments. Moving forward, we know similar investments are slated for the expansion of the Broadway subway line and also rapid transit south of the Fraser into Surrey, along with a whole host of transit projects all across the region. The reality is, though, that none of these projects would be a reality without federal funding and federal support, and that's why we're here today to be calling for a predictable Congestion Relief Fund. With our population continuing to grow and demand for transit on the rise, we need the federal government to stay on board. I think we need to make it clear that really we're not asking for additional funding. What we're asking for from the federal parties is that they make commitments to continue the existing funding that has traditionally been in place, but do it in a way that is predictable and stable so that our region can make long-term planning. Now, with the federal election just around the corner, we see this as a tremendous opportunity to raise the discussion about the needs for improved investments in public transit, roads, cycling, and pedestrian infrastructure as our region grows. In April, the Mayor's Council released our federal election platform calling for a predictable, stable source of funding that would deliver $375 million annually to TransLink. We think this funding is critically important to finish the third and final phase of the Mayor's 10-year plan, but it's also important having that funding in place so that we can start to engage in the next level of investments that we know our region is going to need, and the ideas that are going to come out of our Transport 2050 plan. Just a few weeks ago, myself and some of my colleagues on the Mayor's Council were able to pay a visit to Ottawa and meet with 26 members of Parliament across all parties to really inform them about the campaign, inform them about the investments that we have been making in public transit, and make them aware. And I think the feedback that we got from those meetings was very positive and open. And even just this last week, we were pleased that the Member of Parliament for Vancouver Kingsway, Don Davies, has already filed a private member bill calling for the federal government to create permanent, stable mechanisms for funding for transit. Over the coming months, we are going to continue to meet with the federal officials and candidates so that they can be informed about the work we've been doing here at TransLink and the Mayor's Council and the Cure Congestion campaign. But this campaign has to be more than just the mayors. Really, it has to engage the general public, and that's really what we're here today. It's really going to take residents and thousands of residents to engage with the candidates, engage with all of the parties to really show their commitment and interest in driving this. And we think that is critically important if we're going to see the commitments come from federal parties for this upcoming election. I'm very pleased that we have the support of a variety of organizations from across the region, and they're here behind me today to help kind of share their perspective and their interest in supporting these investments that are so critical to the region. We're also here to ask the public to go, and we're going to be launching new features in our website, curecongestion.ca. We are going to make it easy for residents and voters to be able to communicate directly with the candidates and their local ridings, to be able to kind of share their interest and their support of the campaign. We need residents to be able to tell the story and make the call for better transit in the Metro Vancouver region. So by using a simple email tool that we'll be launching today, all residents in Metro Vancouver will be able to directly communicate and help support the Cure Congestion campaign of the Mayor's Council. Together we can make a difference.
Great. So before I ask Walt to come up, I think we've got just an example of some of the work we're doing. So the video will be, I think, just released today. It's on our website. Okay, so first up we have Walt Judas, Secretary-Treasurer of the BTTC.
Good afternoon, thanks Mike. On behalf of the Better Transit and Transportation Coalition, I'm pleased to stand with the Mayor's Council today to add our support to the Cure Congestion campaign. As you know, the impending federal election is an opportunity to secure long-term funding to improve transit and transportation in the region. Our coalition came together in 2015 to support accessible, efficient, and affordable transit for Metro Vancouver, with one of the primary goals being to reduce traffic congestion that is hurting our economy, our environment, and our quality of life. The coalition is made up of some 135 supporting organizations, including the one that I represent, the Tourism Industry Association of BC. Overall, collectively, we represent 500,000 people. We're part of a community that is sending a clear message to the federal government that we need government to keep on investing in transportation in the region, because we believe the future of Metro Vancouver depends on it. So to that end, I invite all Metro Vancouver residents to join us in calling on federal MPs and candidates in this election to commit to creating a permanent congestion relief fund. Together we can make a difference. Please go to curecongestion.ca to take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt. Next I'll call up Andrew Petter, President and Vice Chancellor of SFU.
Thank you, Mike. I'm pleased to stand with the Mayor's Council and voice my support and that of Simon Fraser University for the Cure Congestion campaign. With campuses in Burnaby, Vancouver, and Surrey, SFU depends upon an efficient and reliable system to meet the transportation needs of our over 30,000 students and thousands of faculty and staff. Such a system is vital to enabling our students to travel to and from classes without facing, as they currently do, some of the longest commute times in Canada. Such a system is vital to enabling our researchers to address regional issues and to collaborate with academic, industry, and community partners throughout Greater Vancouver. And such a system is vital to the economic, social, and environmental health of the many communities that we serve. That's why we at SFU support the call for stable federal investments in transportation infrastructure to fulfill the Mayor's 10-year vision and to ensure that we can continue to develop the transportation system that this region so desperately needs. I invite all Metro Vancouver residents to join with us in asking MPs and candidates in the coming federal election to commit to creating a permanent congestion relief fund. Together, we can make a positive difference for our region and for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Next we'll call on Erin O'Mellon from Hub Cycling.
Thanks, Mike. I'm proud to stand with the Mayor's Council today to add my voice in the support of Hub Cycling to the Cure Congestion campaign. Metro Vancouver has made some progress curing congestion, but more needs to be done. We need to provide residents with improved, reliable, convenient, and well-connected options for walking, biking, and taking transit. The federal government plays a critical role in funding these improvements. With our population growing and more demand for active transportation infrastructure in this region, we need to see all federal parties step up. More than 40% of people that live here want to cycle for transportation but are held back by a lack of infrastructure. Investing here will have great return on investment for congestion relief, health, air quality, and affordability. I invite all Metro Vancouver residents to join us in calling on federal MPs and candidates in this election to commit to creating a permanent congestion relief fund. Together, we can make a difference. Go to curecongestion.ca to take action today.
Thank you, Erin. And next I'll call on Rita Kutsumus from the BC Healthy Living Alliance.
Kutsudimos, but that's okay. I'm happy to stand here with the Mayor's Council today to add my voice and the support of the BC Alliance for Healthy Living to the Cure Congestion campaign. The BC Alliance for Healthy Living is the largest coalition of health leaders ever joined together in the fight against chronic disease. And in BC's history, we promote policies, programs, and environments that support the physical and mental well-being of British Columbians. In this federal election, we're asking all parties to make a long-term commitment to funding healthier travel choices for Metro Vancouver residents. As our region grows, we need to make it easier to walk, bike, and take transit, to reduce the number of cars on the road, and to improve the quality of the air that we all breathe. All levels of government have made commitments to reducing poverty and enhancing the public's health, so it's up to all levels of government to play a role in accelerating the completion of the Mayor's Council's 10-year vision. I invite all Metro Vancouver residents to join us in calling on federal MPs and candidates in this next election to commit to creating a permanent congestion relief fund. Together we can make a difference. Together we can make Metro Vancouver a healthier place for all. Go to curecongestion.ca to take action today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. And finally, we have Will Schelling from UBC Alma Mater Society.
The Alma Mater Society, UBC Student Association, is proud to stand with the Mayor's Council to add our voice to the Cure Congestion campaign. For students and youth living in the Lower Mainland, having access to better transit is essential to connecting us to more affordable housing, employment, and educational destinations like UBC. We're happy to see funding extend the SkyTrain to Arbutus, but to accommodate the tens of thousands of people who commute from places such as Surrey, New Westminster, and Richmond, we want to maintain the momentum and extend the SkyTrain to UBC. We need federal leaders to make a commitment to sustain funding for public transit because students, faculty, and support staff need reliable transportation options as the region grows. I invite all Metro Vancouver residents to join us in calling on federal MPs and candidates in this election to commit to creating a permanent congestion relief fund. Together, we can make a difference. Go to curecongestion.ca to take action today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Will, and thanks to everyone who's joined us today for the launch of this next phase of the Cure Congestion campaign. So we'll take some questions now. If you have a question for something specific, let me know. Otherwise, we can, whoever wants to take a shot can come down. So, open up questions.
I have one. I'm not sure who it's for, whoever wants to take it. As I think we're all still traumatized from about 5 years ago. There was a referendum campaign where a number of mayors got together with a fairly anodyne ad campaign to ask people to spend money on transit. And it didn't go that well. And I wanted to ask, what's different now? What makes you think this can succeed where that one didn't?
Yeah, I'll take that one. And I think actually a better comparison for this campaign is the Cure Congestion campaign that the Mayor's Council put forward during the last provincial election. Very similar in terms of some of the activities that we're talking about there. And I think that campaign actually proved very successful. We had all of the major parties during the last provincial election responding and commitments, but I think it was an excellent opportunity for the Mayor's Council to be able to talk about the story that we've been having, the transit ridership increase that we've had in the region, which I don't think is a story that's well known outside of our region, but also the need to be able to keep that momentum going, and the fact that really what we're asking for is not more money, but we're actually asking for a stable and predictable framework. And I think they all understood the positive benefits that would have in terms of long-term planning and being able to have a better program than has existed in the past. So I actually think we had a very receptive audience, but I think it remains to be seen. I think the reason we went the time we did is we know now is the period of time that all of the major parties are starting to look at their election platforms, and we wanted to get to them early so that they could start to consider what we're bringing forward.
For the average person, if you guys are all getting together and doing this, how do they feel like?
Unless residents in Metro Vancouver can engage in it and be able to put their feedback forward, because ultimately it's going to be the voices of voters that I think is going to be the most motivating factor for federal parties.
Does anyone else want to respond to that? I just want to be sure that we're not monopolizing here now. Other questions?
My vote's with John.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, in January, the federal government outlined a plan for $1.47 billion to upgrade their current system. I'm just wondering how long would that money for us? Is it for 1 year or for 2 years or for like 10 years?
So if I'm understanding the question in regards to the announcement this morning, this relates to the funding that the Mayor's Council on Transit will be able to secure from the federal and provincial government that allows us to move forward with phase 2 of the Mayor's plan, which is a substantial plan. Essentially, that investment carries us to 2027 there, but what we recognize is there's no secured funding beyond that date. So I know it seems a little unusual to be sitting here having a campaign asking for funding well into the future, but the reality is we're not going to be able to do the work to do our planning for phase 3 of the Mayor's 10-year plan, or even be able to start to contemplate the next big projects in Transport 2050 without predictable and stable funding sources. So yes, the funding that we have in place are going to cover us, and we are going to, over the next few years, and we are going to see improved investments in transit service over the next 5 years in our region. But this call is saying, unless we want that momentum to come to a halt in 2027, we actually need to start getting commitments moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Your Holiness, or whatever your title is. Is the Mayor's Council funding this campaign by itself, or is there kind of a separate entity that others are contributing to?
Yeah, so we have a lot of supporting groups, but no, the Mayor's Council is the funding partner for this. The Mayor's Council is utilizing existing budget in our Mayor's Council budget directed toward public engagement. It has been identified from the Mayor's Council as a high priority, so it will be the focus for a lot of the Mayor's Council budget in this year.
So how much are you preparing to spend on this campaign?
Yeah, so this campaign will be within the existing budget, and I'll probably actually refer the specifics about the different elements of the campaign to our executive director Mike Guda. But even in today's Mayor's Council meeting, there was reporting in terms of our delegation to Ottawa there.
And you said this was most like the provincial campaign, but someone else said to me this is a bit unusual as a lobbying effort, and specifically trying to mobilize voters to lobby different federal parties. So I'm wondering which version is right. Is this unusual, or is it exactly like the provincial campaign?
Well, I think it's very similar to the provincial campaign, but I think the provincial campaign definitely saw the Mayor's Council become a lot more involved in terms of advocacy there. So although I think it is similar, I think before the last provincial election, there wasn't as much advocacy or involvement during a provincial or federal campaigns. So in in that way it is unique, but it is actually quite similar in being modeled after the last provincial campaign, Cure Congestion campaign that the Mayor's Council put on.
Including kind of going out and trying to get voters to send in emails and everything?
Yep, during the last provincial campaign, we did have voter engagement during that campaign as well.
How panicked are you that if the Liberals are unelected, that transit funding will dry up and we'll be back to the, Lord of the Flies situation or Hunger Games or whatever it is?
Well, I actually think Metro Vancouver is a success story across, is leading North America, and I think actually all of the major parties, although they have their different vantage points towards this particular issue, are interested in transportation investment, and I think they all recognize that all major cities in Canada can't function without efficient transportation systems. So, this campaign isn't about trying to get folks to support one political party or another. It's about trying to raise the profile of transportation issue and make sure that all of the parties understand the importance of making commitments.
I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm just conscious of the time that our supporters are investing in coming up here, and I want to be sure that there's time for you to connect with them one-on-one after we're done here. So we'll wrap it up. We're going to take a quick photo of this group, and then feel free to connect one-on-one with folks after.